that I've been doing on these labs here. This is some new Portswigger labs that are specific to hacking LLMs, or in this case, actually, there's a whole separate branch of these labs that are about AI-powered scanners, so AI-powered vulnerability scanners, and manipulating them. It seems to me like they're kind of like way out in front here. You know what I mean? They're like, okay, on the one hand, there's already a series of articles here about web LLM attacks, and so that's kind of like the most. That's probably the attack surface that you think of when you're thinking of LLMs and hacking and stuff. Is you're probably thinking about, like hacking the chatbots and all that kind of shit. So they have a series of articles on that, but then they also have branched off into these articles about the actual scanners, the AI-powered scanners, and manipulating them. And those are pretty amusing. So I think I've done, of those ones specifically, of the new branch, I've done 2 of them. One of the previous videos was about this destructive actions one, and this Exfiltrate sensitive information one. The interesting thing about this is it's kind of related to the one I'm working on now, which is the last one, bypassing AI scanner defenses to exfiltrate sensitive information. So, exfiltration is involved in both of them. And I solved this one and cannot remember how I solved it. So I might actually, as with the previous video, I might basically perform that same solution again. Well, I mean, it won't be, but just performing it, because I'll have to figure it out again. So that may be something that I do next. But actually, at the moment, like right now, I'm working on this one, but I'm not going to work on that one yet for the moment, because there's something from last night's lab, or from the previous lab, AI agents to perform destructive actions, that I've been thinking about, and I mentioned it a little bit on the previous videos, and it kind of is still bugging me a bit. Like how the delete worked, and also just like the sense. I'm going to spin this up right now because we're going to be using this again. Yes, even though I've solved it, this will be like the 3rd time I solve it or something. But not just like the questions about the my account / delete endpoint. Not just the questions about how that's supposed to work in the simulation, right? That is the lab, right? Not like in the real world. I'm talking about how it's supposed to work in the lab's fiction, right? In that environment, that world. Whether or not it uses like which methods, which HTTP verbs you might, if you like that terminology, or HTTP methods are supported by the my account / delete endpoint, which kind of became quite a topic of the previous videos. And I know you're like, well, obviously post or delete or something like that, but no, actually it looks like it maybe supports get. But anyways, I became curious about that, but in thinking about how I might answer that question. So yeah, we're back in this lab, the one that has been solved a couple of times. And thinking about how I might answer that question, because remember where this all came from was this, you can, once you log into your account, you have to log in first, right? Then you have the option to delete your account, right? This option right here. And, I was saying, okay, so let me see if I correctly unmuted myself. Yes, okay, that's good. So I have new mute hotkeys that should work much better. So anyways, yeah, I was talking, now we're gonna dive into the cult of Devtools here. So cult of Devtools people, gather around. This is for you. So, one of the things about this was that we're going to open Devtools now. One of the things about this was that I deleted, or the previous solve, one of the issues with the previous solve was that I pretty quickly in the exercise deleted my own account using this button, so that I could observe in the network tab, I could observe what that transaction looks like. And I did so, and the thing is, I didn't keep very good notes of that operation, and as a result, I kind of lost track of how that endpoint worked, which is really stupid. There's a couple of actually pretty pretty easy solutions. The most actually easiest and completely non-technical would have been to simply rewind my own replay since it was a live stream. I don't know why I didn't do that. I wouldn't have done it if I had thought about it because it's kind of cheating and it's like outside of the gamification of the lab, which is also why you won't usually see me look stuff up during the labs, right? I mean, if I can't recall like what an HTTP response code is, I'll resist looking stuff up, and certainly not going to be using AI or anything like that to solve things. That's taking all the fun out of it. So, anyways, a couple of other ways though. I mean, I mentioned this in the video. I mean, the old school way and really the proper way, if this were a corporate environment, and this were part of your assignment, the proper way would be to carefully analyze this form and figure out how it works. It is a fairly simple form anyways. So, I mean, here it is. It's a post. I don't know why I didn't go for this route. But the thing is, like, even in a scenario like that, in a corporate assignment scenario, you're still going to want to run it to make sure that you're not missing anything. There could be JavaScript that fires when the form is filled out that does stuff, so you're going to want to observe the real transaction. But most of the time, like if I'm doing this for a lab or something, kind of pointless to really super analyze everything, and the short route is to just capture it and then play with the transaction. Now, for a situation like delete account, as discovered, delete account, something like that is going to complicate it because you won't have the luxury of executing it without of observing its operation without actually executing it. And this is the part that I was stuck on. This thing about like, given these constraints, say if I'm not going to, take 100% confidence in figuring out how the form works, even though this is a super simple form. Say if you're not going to do that and you're not going to, are there two of those in there? Yeah. Say if you're not going to, there it is. You're not going to analyze it, and you don't want to take the risk of missing something, and you don't have the luxury of actually executing it. And again, we're talking about just doing this in Devtools. You don't need anything but Devtools for this. And I thought I had this idea because this thing has an embedded CSRF token, right? And so I thought I was realizing like I could just mess up this token, right? So I've gone into Devtools, and I was talking about Devtools last night, a couple of ways to start it, and one of the ways is to right click on something, right? You can right click on it and choose inspect, and that will take you right to, it should, sometimes it's a little kludgy, you might have to try it a couple of different places, but most of the time it will take you right to that bit of code, right? And you can hover over it and it'll show you, where you're hovering over. This is super cool because you're like exactly, where's the code that handles this form, or what is this button trigger or whatever. So right clicking on it and choosing inspect, it'll just take you right to it. So that's really cool. So now that I'm in here, actually, so I started thinking about this. I was like, there actually is a way that I could test the delete and simulate its execution and not have it execute would be to like muck up this CSRF token, right? So that's what I came in here to test today, was to see if I could find a way to run the delete function, monitor it in the network tab, and yet have it not actually perform the delete. And I would have a log of its operation that I'd be completely confident of. So that's what I'm doing right this moment. I'm trying to see if I can do that. So my solution was to, and again, the constraint here is just using Devtools, not using anything else. So just using Devtools, simulate the delete account without actually running the delete account because I don't want to delete my account. So right click on it, choose inspect, find it in here, actually I should refresh, let's start over from scratch. Okay, so I'm right clicking on the delete, and then I'm going to find it, the form, and here's the form for the delete form. This is just the delete part of the form, and I'm going to muck up the CSRF token, right? So I'm just going to replace it with duck eggs, right? And that way, when I go over to the network tab and I'm ready to see the delete account operate, I can press delete, and in theory, we should have a copy of the network transaction that would be performed by the delete, except it will fail when it gets to the server. That's what I'm assuming. Because I'm assuming the client side is not going to be checking the CSRF token. It might, but that'd be stupid. You have to check it on the server anyways. So anyways, here we go. And it worked. Ha, 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 ha. Or did it work? Yeah, it did. See, look. I get invalid CSRF token. That's awesome. This is like basically exactly what I was hoping would happen. So I get a copy of exactly what the delete function is going to look like. One that I can, copy as a fetch and operate on it here, right? And do all the kind of stuff I want to do because I mucked it up with the CS by screwing up the CSRF token. That's perfect, right? So that is my solution. My solution to running the delete account, but not deleting the account, and doing it only at Devtools, so that way I can know exactly how it operates. So let's see. I'm going to do that again because I thought that was kind of cool. So right-click on delete account, and then I'll go in there. Now here's the form to delete the account. If I hit delete, it will delete it, and I can observe it in the network tab. But I'll delete the account. So instead, I'm going to mess this up. I'll screw up my CSRF token. And then I'll do delete account, but I want to be in the network tab so I can watch it. I do delete account, voila, it runs to delete, but it gets a bad request back. The response is actually invalid CSRF token. Nice. So yeah, that's going to be my technique now if I want to run a bit of code from a page, but I don't have the luxury of doing it because it's going to delete the actual account. So that's like the cool part is now I have a copy of what the delete should look like, the delete operation. It looks like this, except that the CSRF token will be a real CSRF token and not X's. Anyways, I thought that was kind of cool. It was like, I hadn't really tested it until just now, but I have no reason to think that it wouldn't have worked. So it is opposed to, in the end, it is opposed to my account delete. And it includes the CSRF token. And I mean, how does it know who it's deleting? It's not from the token. And it can't be from the referrer either. It must be from the cookie because I think there's a session cookie as well. I haven't gone into this yet, but almost all the time I've spent showing off Devtools has been in the network tab. But over in the application tab, you can get to the cookies. And many other things over here. So, and here are the cookies, and this is the session. This must be how it decides who to delete. So, anyways, I thought that was pretty cool. That was my initial plan for this, was just to test this. And yeah, so this lab I've already solved like a couple of different times. And the one that I'm currently working on is this one down here. This is the last of the AI-powered scanner vulnerabilities labs, is the bypassing AI scanner defenses to exfiltrate sensitive information. Unmute, I think. Let's check. Unmute. Okay, unmuted. Cool. So yeah, and I mean, I've been doing some stuff on this one earlier today. I was messing around with it quite a bit, and it's tricky. It looks like a tricky one. And then I realized, like, it's weird because I already solved this one, exploiting AI agents to exfiltrate sensitive information, and this is only bypassing AI scanner defenses to exfiltrate sensitive information. So, what am I missing this time that I didn't miss on this one? I'm not sure, but I think I might actually take a look at it again. So this one, it was about stealing the account details, which included the Carlos's API key. So the job was to submit Carlos's API key. And that's probably this one too. This one says as follows. And I'll put links to all this stuff in the doodly-doo. This one says, this lab is vulnerable to indirect prompt injection. The application features an AI-powered scanner that has access to sensitive user data, including API keys, while performing site audits. The scanner has been given login credentials for Carlos, so it can explore authenticated areas of the site, just like the previous one. The admins have given the scanner the credentials of an end user for some insane reason. So you have your own account. This is the username and the password. And to solve it, you exfiltrate and submit the API key for Carlos. So retrieve Carlos's API key, and I think there is a, here it is, submit solution. So when you find it, you use the submit solution button to submit it. There's, let's see, there's a scan site just like with the previous one, probably on each blog post. Yeah, there's a scan site. This one's, and it has the same disclaimer about the LLMs. They're saying that the LLMs are kind of unpredictable, like a non-deterministic. We went through that discussion on a previous lab. So yeah, so I think I'm going to mess around with this one for a little while because I think it might like jog my memory as to half of the solution for this one, which is the top level lab in this, the last lab in this series of AI-powered scanner vulnerabilities. This one, I mean, it's the same thing except for bypassing defenses. It just like it looks like the same thing, but you know, we also submit the API key. So yeah, I'm missing something that I've already solved, or might be overcomplicating something that can happen. So I think what I'll do, let's see. I think what I'm going to do is, you know, just try a couple of things that it should be offended by. Sort of like some loud, blatant stuff. Even though, like, you know, you expect this stuff to be blocked, and it blocking it is kind of part of the point. And again, it has cached a whole bunch of like attempted payloads that we were using on the previous lab and on other labs too. So actually, I think I'll just leave one of these in there. Why not? Although I don't know if any of these worked. And I'm not gonna do my account delete. That's no good. I'll just do my account. Actually, I don't know anything about what my account looks like on this lab. So let's log in. And I'm not watching. You notice I'm not watching any of this traffic yet because it's just not. It's not important. Well, there's an update email. There's a log out that could be useful. I mean, probably not. I'm just saying that. And here's the API key. So what we need is this page, but for Carlos, right? See how it says ID equals. But we need. I can't type Carlos. Yeah. So we need it for Carlos. If we do ask for Carlos, it sends us a 302. That's a redirect, right? That sends your browser to another page. So when I change this to Carlos and I try to go there, it says, hey, you're not Carlos, your session tokens, I assume it's looking at the session token. It's saying, hey, you're not Carlos, the session tokens and your cookies and other stuff are not correct. So I'm going to send you a 302 to the login page and your browser will automatically go there. That's what's happening when we say it sent you a 302. Okay, so this is, you know, I will say, I think I remember this from the other lab that I was working on, like I said. I was just working on the last lab in this series. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so this is the call that this page actually places a call to this URL to account details in camel case like that. So actually, I should be able to just look for. There it is. So here it is. Here's actually the code on this page, right? That is retrieving the account details to populate it into this little spot right here. And I'm going to start piling things up on the left-hand side because it works better for making shorts, and you all really seem to like shorts. I mean, the video format shorts. So, anyways, I'm going to try to make it easier to cut these into shorts. So this is the section of the code that's actually retrieving that data on behalf of this page. I mean, again, I got there by this mechanism, by right-clicking on it and choosing inspect, and it took me to the source. But from the network thing, I'd seen that it was using, what was it called, account details. So I was just looking for account details. And here it is. Here's the actual call that is doing the work. And yeah, as you imagine, there's no reason we can't copy this out and make use of it ourselves over here in the JavaScript console. So let's see. We take a look at it. It does. Actually, I happen to know it doesn't need this. I'm going to play around with this and take this part out. This is by default. That is, credentials are included. Yeah, and this is a get. Remember, because if the method, if you don't see a method get or post or something else right here, if you don't see that, the default is it's a get. Something I discussed extensively on the previous episode. Another disclaimer: I usually have music playing, and so you might hear music. Hopefully, I don't get copyright struck. They've actually chained this together so that it does the fetch for account details, the URL that we've already seen. In fact, I'll put this in here, right here. Just duplicate this page and put the account details URL on the end there. Yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get. You get that. And that's what's being used to populate this data here on the page. This is an oversimplification of what like some sort of framework that you might find on an internet application. So as I was saying, it specifies here to include the credentials, but I bet you can skip that. And I'm going to show you. We're going to test that in a minute. I'm going to show you a clever way to test stuff like this. And then what it does is it's chained it chain as in chains. You know what I mean? It has chained this command together such that it's going to wait for this to finish, and when it finishes, then like and then, right? It's going to and then it's going to do this. I'm going to actually rename this for our own purposes to rest, but I'm just going to call it response. So this will change it to response. Yeah, okay. So it just means that what is returned from this fetch command is going to go into the variable called response. And then the variable called response has a JSON function that spits out the results in JSON. And then, that's what this next bit, so and then that response is going to get sent into this next bit of code here. And this next bit of code here says assigns J the results, actually assigns the inner text of the API key field to to the API key from the response. So actually what I'm going to do, I'm just going to just do this. Right, so it's just gonna console log it, right? So now it's gonna fetch account details, it's gonna include the credentials, and then the response JSON, and then will be sent to the J variable. This will be called J, and then the API key will be spit out on the console log. And it didn't work because response is not. Oh, look, a typo. It says response instead of, Rapunzel. No wonder it was not blue. I was like, why isn't that blue? It still isn't blue. Anyways, but that doesn't matter. So there it is. And it spit out the API key. So this is basically the same work that this is doing, except like caveman version. But remember, there's something I wanted to mess around with, because, as I said, this is not necessary. My understanding is that you do not need to specify credentials include, so long as the code is happening on the same website, as on the same site within the same, like CORS domain and all that crap. As long as all of that stuff is copacetic, credentials are included by default. That is my understanding. And so operating under that assumption, so I'm going to test that here. Huh. Yes. And see, I told you. So I think, for instance, let me make sure I'm not on mute. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm going to be paranoid about that for a while. So I think one way we could test that, I don't know what credentials include, what the opposite of that is. Let's see if sometimes Chrome Devtools will will help you like fill things out if you don't know, like, I'm just going to put something else in there. But like, I wanted to give you an example of what it knows. So like sometimes it knows stuff, so I can put in J dot. Okay, that didn't work. But you know, all right, no, yeah, response.json of such a type, right? What do you mean OBS Studio is disconnected? That is weird. I don't know why I got OBS Studio was disconnected for some short while, but anyways. So what was I talking about? I don't know. Look at the look at this stuff in the console. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and muck up the credentials field because I don't know what the like the previous syntax was credentials include, and I don't know what the syntax for credentials don't include is. But I'm just going to put duck eggs and assume that is equivalent to credentials don't include, and see what happens. In promise, oh, the provided value duck eggs is not. That's pretty funny. So, anyways, yeah, you can't. Apparently, you're not allowed to use that value. I wonder. Now, I'm curious. What kind of values are valid in here? Can I use no value? No, it doesn't like that either. Now, this is kind of interesting. I'm off on a bit of a tangent here, but this is amusing to me. What if I say credentials none? Sometimes none is a thing. I see right about now. I was talking about this at the top of the show. Is that, yeah, I could look this up, but that kind of it's outside of the game universe. The game universe for the lab is like, you know, I mean, could I also just like, why don't I just look up the solution then? You know what I mean? So what if I say, I wonder what they're expecting here. All right, gosh, you know what I could? Okay, I think I could ask. I could ask the AI inside of this thing. I don't want to. Can I just look up fetch credentials? Because I don't want spoilers. I don't want to spoil the game for myself. Fetch syntax credentials arguments. All right, good enough. All right, we got include. Look, so it's one of these three. That's how they write this, in case you're not familiar with reading this sort of thing. You're about to learn, boy, so pay attention. You can, the way they write this sort of syntax is they're describing it can be omit as a string, so it has to be quoted, or, that's what this pipe is, or, same origin, again a string, or include, you know, a string. So they're giving you the syntax here. So include is what they did. You could do same origin, which is weird because I understand same origin to be default. I should read up on this function size, considering how much time I spend with it. So omit is the answer that I'm looking for. This could be credentials omit. Hey, I was close. None is kind of close. All right. So why was I doing this? Just to see what happens? No, I want to see it. I'm expecting it to deny the. Right, I'm expecting it to deny the request. Right, I got a 401, unauthorized, perfect. That's exactly what I'm expecting. Unauthorized, perfect. Right, so I'm right. See, because if you take this out, by default, it includes the credentials, and it works, and I don't get a 401 unauthorized, right? Why? Because this version includes credentials, even though it doesn't say it includes credentials. You get it? Because it's included by default. That's like my whole point. That's why I went this entire route and learned in the meantime how to submit a request explicitly excluding credentials. You say credentials omit and not credentials duck eggs, which it didn't like at all. And actually, I don't think this was even sent. Right? I felt like the browser didn't send this. It was like, what are you doing? That's not even HTTP. It didn't. Yeah, this never left my machine. That's why you don't see it, this request, in the network tab. Whereas opposed to, like, say, this one, whoops, not that one, with this is the one where we're requesting account details and credentials are omit. You do see the request in the network tab, even though it's a 401, right? again, what I'm saying is credentials include is implicit, and so if you take this out, it's exactly the same as credentials include. So that's kind of interesting, right? This is the kind of stuff you need to know if you're going to be a good hacker, because you never know when you might need to, I don't know, leverage this sort of capability. In fact, it may be in this very exercise, because look at this request. Like, there's a difference between these. This request right here. Let's skip the. I'm gonna skip the rest of it, and just put this part in. So this request and this request, they do the same thing, but there is an important distinction between them. This one has disconnected. Well, if you're bypassing into or get past a system that filters out curly braces, then it is very useful to know that this is included implicitly. Have I been logged out of this thing yet? So where was I? You know, I'm not even sure I'm really going to continue working on this one, because really I just came in to test that one thing that I was talking about, and I thought that would be pretty cool. But let's see what happens if I post this comment. So again, this is the one that is exploiting AI. Sorry. Exploiting AI agents to exfiltrate sensitive information is this lab. And I'm using, like, I don't know, this is actually the payload, the exploit payload that we're playing with, that I was playing with for the other lab, the one that never worked. Ultimately, I went with a script tag. But I know I've already, I screwed up my CSRF token. So bad that it's like jacked. Okay, no big. I'll just do this one again. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna do this. Just some junk in here. This is intended to piss it off, right? So it should not accept this at all. So I had thought of, oh my goodness, I don't want that. What we want to fetch is this, even though it's kind of stupid to put this in here, because even if the, like, say the scanner does execute this request, I'm not going to see it unless for whatever weird reason it's constantly you know, spitting out what it sees all the time. So also don't need this get, that's implicit as well. The rest of this is fine. I'm just going to call this closer because it's shorter. Okay, I'm going to copy that though, and I'm going to put a copy in here as well, just for the heck of it. Not because it's going to function or anything, but just to have a copy of it. So scan the site. I mean, this is actually the first real input that we've given to this lab. I mean, explicitly, you know, stating that I've already solved, not this one, but the one we're working on. This is the one I'm currently working on, which is why I went back to this one, because they're both about exfiltrating. And I've already solved this one. So what am I missing that I haven't solved this one yet? It's this, except with more scanner defenses, and I still haven't solved it. Oh, you're welcome for my comment. Thank you. And make sure I'm not on mute. I'm not on mute. I'm going to be paranoid about that for a long while. Yeah, just exfiltrate and submit the Carlos's API key, so which is accessible at this URL at account details. Let's see what the scanner says. Nothing. But remember, the scanner puts its results out on the blog itself. It says, security scan summary. The blog site is vulnerable to dangling markup injection via the website field in comments. Oh, also same field as the other lab. allowing attackers to inject HTML attributes that break out of the href attribute and execute JavaScript. I successfully demonstrated XSS by injecting autofocus on focus. No, that was mine. Wait, this stole my input. This is my input. Additionally, the account details endpoint exposes sensitive user information, API keys, and session tokens without proper access controls. Wait, what? Without proper access controls? What do you mean without proper access controls? I tried to request it without a CSRF token. That didn't work. What do you mean without proper access controls? What is this? I've been requesting this thing, haven't I? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here's a request for account details. Then a response, then it just logs the API key. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. I didn't send anything. There's a CSRF token, and it's a fetch. This is a get. Creds are included by default, so it just included the cookie, is all that means. So session token was included. You know, I shouldn't read too much into that response in the scanner output. Maybe I'm reading a bit too much into that. Anyways, I'm very certain that if this is exfiltrating it, so that means I need to get it to post. Is this the one yeah, this looks like actually, this is mine. Yeah. That's weird because this is the what's on the URL of this XSS vulnerability found dangling markup is actually the payload that I just delivered to it, right? Okay, this I am going to use. I will cheat a little bit. I'm going to use HTML decode because the site that I always use for that, I think. Yeah, this will do. Just because it's easier to read. You see, I'm basically using their page as a scratch pad. Okay, so they put in exploit.com, which is not what I put in. They closed it, closed the quote. This is interesting. I don't know why you... Holy shit, do you need that for OnFocus to work? Also, I thought you needed autofocus here if you did this. And that just bugs me. So, I didn't realize you needed tab index 1. Maybe you don't. Then they do a fetch, which is the same thing I'm doing. They don't include credentials because it's included by default. It's the same thing I'm doing. And then they... Man, so it looks like, honestly, all I should need... This is the one that they're saying, that the scanner says it ran. You notice they changed mine was this mine version I actually call it response or something, right? So this is clearly their version. Also, my version pulls the JSON instead of the text, but actually they're right. This is easier. The thing is, if it logs it to the console, that doesn't help me. I can't see that. So it seems like what I need is, let's see. This is the scanner's version. Cleaned up so that we can read it. The thing is, I need this right here. This bit of code right here needs to be... I'm just going to take this out now. Okay, so this part, the X's, needs to be the code for post r.txt to r.txt. Actually, this is going to be, yeah, txt to a comment, right? Yeah, so this is what I was working actually on the other lab with, because there's a little bit of a problem. When we actually just encountered it a moment ago, I'm going to leave this one open so that I can open another, so I can have one place where I'm just keeping that as a notepad to myself here. So this is what it should be. Okay, the thing is, post r.txt to a comment is equivalent to post comment, which, as we saw here, we're gonna watch this on the network tab right now, and it doesn't matter. I mean, we already saw it before, because it refused. It refused to. It doesn't. This part doesn't even matter. Because when we went to post the first comment, and I had jacked up the CSRF token, and so it denied the comment because it said the CSRF token was invalid, as it rightly should, as it should. So this being the solution, if the solution is post r.text to a comment so that I can read it in the blog, get the scanner to post it to a comment, that's going to have to read the scanner's CSRF token, right, and parse that. Now, that's actually available on the page, but it's not part of the account details endpoint, right? So that could be a little tricky, right? So I'm watching on the network tab. When I do this post, we're going to see that this is the call right here. Again, we're back in Devtools, of course. Where else? This comment, this is the actual post where where it actually sends the message right up here. Here's the payload right here. Here's the whole comment that we just posted and everything, and the name and the other fields, including the CSRF token, right? So if the CSRF token's not in there, it's not going to thank us for the comment with this nice friendly message. Instead, it rejects it. So I could come up with compose a bit of code for the thing to run, that is just to do a post, right? Just to do a message post, but it's going to have to include the CSRF token. So that's a bit of a problem. Yeah, I mean, there's no need to rescan it because it didn't add a payload or anything. That means, let's see. So see if I still have. I didn't have that post. I will do this again. I'm going to do a comment that I can recognize. I don't know why I didn't keep that. This part isn't important this time. Okay, there's the comment post, and I'm going to copy it as a fetch so I can mess around with it. What happened to the little console thing? Disappeared. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so right here it is, the CSRF token. It's going to have to grab that if I wanted to do. Here, I'm going to make another post. It's going to say honk honk. I'll press enter. I'm not going to bother waiting for the response or anything like that, because I'm just going to go back to the blog article, and there it is. There's the honk honk that I just posted. Again, by using this fetch syntax in Devtools. So that's this. I should be able to. It should be. What is it? Document.body.csrf. I keep doing that. Something you might not be aware of. If you do like, okay, I'm gonna make a variable called text. I'm gonna put this text in it, right? And if you do like console.log, you do text as the variable, and then it will spit that out, right? This is obviously this is like 101. I'm not sure if you know this, but you don't actually need to specify it. If all you want to do is output the value, the contents of a variable, you can just type the variable name by itself with nothing else. It's kind of weird, just weird little thing that you might take advantage of sometime if you need something to be really short. So anyways, I think Is it so? That's what the reason I mentioned that is because you should be able to say like you could say like document dot cookie, and that is equivalent to saying console.log document.cookie, right? So they're the same thing is what I'm saying. Is it document or is it window.cookie? Anyways, the reason I mentioned that is because we want to get the CSRF token. Is that document.body.csrf? Or is it document.csr? Oh, you know what? No, you have to do a selector. Oh shit! You know what? I have code for this. So this is what I was working on the other one that I was telling you about. It's a little bit because it's a bit more complicated. Here he is. Here it is. Actually, query selector for the value is what you need. Okay, so here is how we're going to get the CSRF token because it has to be included. So I'm going to set the value of a variable called CSRF. It's not very inventive, to document.querySelector, and then the name of the, because you put the selector syntax in here. You can look up this query selector function, method rather, and I'm looking for the element called CSRF, and then I'm taking the value of it, and I'm assigning that to the variable CSRF. So, and it outputs it. Obviously, as I just discussed, you could just do CSRF, and it will print out the value of that variable CSRF. So that's how I'm going to get the CSRF, right? I could get it. So like we could get, since it's already said like, you know, it will execute this, or at least it found that it executed this, then the XXX part right here, part of it would be this right here. XXS would, or XXX, the code, the payload code, to post it would need to get the CSRF value, right, so that it can include that in the request to actually do the post. So I don't know. Is that what I'm supposed to? Did I do that last time when I solved this lab? Because I did solve this lab already, and I don't know if I went this far. You know, I don't seem to remember pulling out the CSRF token. This is the only way to make a post. So I know for one thing, it's not going to, even just assume that it's going to, that it will execute XXX here, right? I'm just going to stop saying that because it's a pain in the butt to say. I'm just going to call this payload, right? So let's say, just assume that whatever prerequisites are met, that we'll trick the scanner into executing payload, right? Whatever that is, executing this bit of code. You know, what is that code? Like right now, the only way I can think for the scanner to inform me of Carlos's API key is to, first I got to get the CSRF token. Then I have to get his API key, which I think I already actually have in here. So I've put together most of this. As you can see, I've been working on this. This is for the other lab though. But I'm not sure that this will actually do the trick. And it also seems like there's a lot of characters in here that are probably going to be filtered out. It's like brackets and stuff. This is a major pain in the butt. So what am I doing here exactly? I'm doing a fetch and then. So there's a bunch of and thens in this. I'm doing a fetch. What is this? I wrote this really late last night. Okay, there's the scanner comment because there's a couple of different return. Why am I returning a fetch? Actually, maybe that's the problem. I don't know why this return is there. I might have screwed that up last night. Okay, here's a fetch. It is including the body of the request. That's to do this scanner comment. Actually, so this should work. I should be able to do this right now. The only thing is, so it's using this CSRF value. Okay, so let me try this. I'm just going to try this right now. If this works, it should submit a, yeah, if this works, it should submit a comment to the blog. So this is the first part. This is the part that grabs the CSRF token. I'm just stepping through all the parts of this, right? Why does it not like that? Okay, there we go. Unexpected end of input. I think I'm missing a parenthesis somewhere. Yeah, I am. Okay, this is the code that is meant to execute in there. Yeah, so then do this, then do this. Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah. What? What do you mean unexpected token? I'll put these on different lines so that it may be easier for me to read. Oh, there's a bracket missing here. Damn it. Actually, this is supposed to be a parentheses. Yeah, there's no reason that should be a bracket. Yeah, unexpected token const. Yeah, actually, I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is const. I definitely have screwed this up somewhere. I think I probably screwed it up from my own notes. I don't know if the notes are correct. Let's try this. I'm just going to take this whole thing again and operate on it from scratch. This is going to be rough on screen for you to read this. I will completely confess that this is like a lot of stuff in hacking can be really illegible. I'm doing my best to make it legible here, but sometimes you just gotta bite the bullet, and like this stuff is difficult. I'm gonna call this Hong Kong. So let's see. So fetch the account details. Then we're creating this variable called response, and I'm pulling out the JSON. I'm creating a variable called out. It is the. Did I really put this inside of squigglies? Squigglies. I'm sure like when this was all broken up it made sense. I'm not sure how far I got on this last night. I might only have written it and not actually tested it. Doesn't this have to be this has to be the correct post ID though, right? And this is post ID 7, so if I don't post ID to post ID 7, it will go to the wrong article. So post ID 7. The comment's going to be scanner comment plus the out variable, which is the output of the CSRF token. I remember now why this is a return. Yeah, because it has to return it so that the following then can get it. And in the body of its comment, it is posting CSRF equals and the CSRF token plus the comment plus the API key. So this will be my own API key, right? In theory. So if this works at all. And I didn't have it spit out the output, so I don't know if it works. Although we can just go to the blog. So I'm going to go to the blog and refresh the blog. And see, so it worked. I think this is probably the SRF token concatenated with the API token, and it's like not, there's nothing separating them. Let me check. This is my API key. It starts with SYH. There it is. It is. So that is my API key. So it works perfect. I mean, you know, like I ran it myself, you know, personally, but if I can get the scanner to run this code, that's the problem here. Look at this. No system's going to accept this. This code is crazy. But again, I remember last night I way overcomplicated the thing because I was like, there's no way it's going to accept a script tag, right? And it turns out it was perfectly happy to accept a script tag. So maybe I should just do that. I'll give it a URL, the usual. So we're doing the usual thing here. This is similar to last night's lab. We're going to close that. We're going to close that, what will become an ahref, an anchor tag. And then we're going to open up a script, which it shouldn't ignore, but apparently it's plenty happy ignoring it. I'm not going to put the code in there yet. This is where the code will go, right? Code here. And then we have to open something up again because it needs a quote. So we're going to go like this is a close, a close tag. I'm making this up. There's no such thing as a close tag. Sometimes people would just like put X here, but I don't like the way that looks because I may need to read this later. So this is the tricky part. This has now got to be all of this code, which should post it to the thing. There is one problem. Here's the CSRF. It posted the CSRF token. Scanner comment, API key. I guess I only posted the API key. I didn't post the CSRF token. So that's all right. So it only sends I don't need the CSRF token. It just needs it. Well, I would be really surprised if this works. So I just pasted that in there, and it shouldn't work. But it might. I'm going to keep a copy here. Here we go. And we scan it, and we're going to see if it works. What'll happen is the scanner will read this, and it's going to execute it the same way as I executed it. But instead, the result will be that it posts a comment to the blog, to the same one that we've just been looking at, using the name Trek and the email address of hongkong@gmail.com. And the scanner comment, then the comment will be scanner comment and the API key. And since the scanner is running as Carlos, that will be Carlos's API key. And then once we've retrieved it, we can submit the solution and be done. I must have done something like this at one point because I already solved this lab. So either it was this or it was some much simpler solution. It really could be a simpler solution. So I think it's done scanning. You know what? I'm going to scan it again anyways, because of what it says about the lab here. It says, this lab uses a live LLM, which can be unpredictable. If the lab does not respond as expected, you may need to rephrase or repeat the scanning process. This is unnerving to me, okay? Because like as a nerd, I like the deterministic nature of computers, and it's one of the things that has always brought me comfort in working with them. And now things are all fuzzy, and I don't like that. So I don't like the idea that I'm going to have to run it multiple times and not know for sure like what the results are. This one's not counting. I'm just going to refresh it and scan it again. Scan failed. Oh, all right. Well, it is kind of fuzzy. Now it says 12. So I don't know. Maybe what I might have to do is find various encodings of this payload, or maybe I'm overcomplicating it. All right, it seems to have scanned it. Let's see what the blog says. Shit, this is mine, I think. Here's 2 duck eggs. Hey, wait. Critical and dinkling markup, sensitive, account details, endpoint exposes. API key. This is Carlos's, but wait, did I earn this or did it just give it to me? I guess I should read it. So it's final scan report. You know, it looks to me like it did matter that we ran the scan a couple of different times. Oh, here we go. Yeah, because it didn't have the same result the same output every time. All right, I'll read this one. Security scan results, critical vulnerabilities found. Dinkling markup injection XSS. The website field in the comment form is vulnerable to attribute injection. No shit. Oh, so you know what? It did run this. I would like to test something else to find out if it really ran this. Yeah, I kind of want to do that, but I kind of also want to just like declare victory. So this clearly is Carlos's key. By inserting a double quote followed by closing it out, by event handlers on focus, autofocus on focus, arbitrary judge. So that whole payload was a pain in the ass, right? Because it had to be triggered in the first place, and then once it triggered, it had to run all of this code for shorts. So this was the payload that did it, and there's got to be a more optimal payload. There's no way that this is the only good solution. I think I'm overcomplicating this. Anyways, let me finish this. It says the account /account details endpoint returns sensitive user information, including API keys, and then it gave it to me. This isn't what I wanted, though. I want it to post the API key to the frickin' thing. Is it not going to do that? All right, look, first I'm going to check and see if this is the right API key. So the solution to the lab is to get Carlos's API key, and here you go. Solve the lab by exfiltrating and submitting the API key for the user Carlos. Yeah, so if this is it, then this should do the trick. That's the one that we just got from the report there. And voila, congratulations, you solved the lab. I feel like I maybe am overcomplicating this. I don't know. I'm sort of tempted to. Where's mine? The last one that I put in is probably too. Yeah, this duck eggs here. Well, okay. All of these last ones were submitted from inside Devtools, right? So it's kind of not. It's kind of not really valid. You know, I don't know why, but I still want to do it. I want to do it again anyways. I'm going to post this just to make sure I'm looking at the right article, because this just came from running that code, right? So see, we'll do it again. I'm hitting refresh to refresh the article. There it is. This is my API key, right? So what I want is for the scanner to execute this. Like thus, and then close this, and then end that, and then put in a script tag, and then put in code here, and then end script tag. If this looks familiar, it's because we just did this. Sorry. I'll just put another one of these just for the hell of it. Well, no, I shouldn't, because then it would require it might expect a closing A. I don't want to confuse it. All right, I'll just call this, I don't know, that might be a valid tag. That might be valid too. Okay, there we go. So this is the dangler, right, so that it can close it. I don't even know if I need that. And then here is the code, right, that we're going to stick in there. Yes, we are doing this twice. Sometimes I want the answer more than I want to win. Like, I want to understand, right? Okay. There we go. We post a comment. Oh crap! I mean, it won't let me rerun the scan. Yeah, and without the scan, there's no way to. Damn it! They can make it. I mean, I wish they made it easier to like rerun. Yeah, it's not gonna run the scan. Somebody has to run this, right? And it has to be the scanner with Carlos's credentials. Okay. Well, anyways. That was gobs of fun. I'm going to put links in the doodly-doo to this video over the next couple of hours. And I was recording it too. So there will probably be an edited director's cut version. Hey, people, let me know what you think of this freaking weird thumbnail image that YouTube kind of made me, nagged me into using, but kind of creepy. It's all creepy. So, all right, thanks for tuning in. If you're tuning in, and shout outs to all the new subs and the old subs too, and hope you enjoyed this. I'm not sure if I learned anything, except in the beginning when I was testing that thing about screwing up the CSRF tokens. That is very useful stuff, and so you'll see some shorts making the rounds that I think leverage that. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and hope to see more people in the future. See you on the other side. Later.